Episode of the D4H Bravo Zulu live stream series. We're going out live over YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and afterwards you're able to download the podcast of this on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you'd like to get that from. Today is quite a different live stream. We've had the opportunity to bring on a whole bunch of D4H users into. I guess it's a bit like a user forum in some sense, that we're going to discuss the product, we're going to discuss the features that we need, and we've also lucky enough to have our CTO Mario on the show today, which is fantastic. So there's a whole group of us going to come in, and while the audience here is building, I can see lots and lots of eyeballs coming on, showing us the view count. I'll just remind you that you can ask questions live. So I'm going to type in here, ask a question here, and this should go out onto everything. So you're able to contact us on here, ask questions. They're shown live on screen, and we'll answer them, as will our guests, hopefully. So let me bring up my screen here. I think that's the easiest way to do this, and we'll start to introduce some people. So, okay, excellent. So first up today, let's bring in John. Here comes John. Hey, John, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks very much. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, absolutely. John, you are from Bowland Pennine Mountain Rescue Team in Lancashire. Can you just explain to viewers where Lancashire is in the UK? Give us an idea.
Yeah, it's in northwest England, quite close to the Lake District, but not in the Lake District, if people are familiar with that. So just north of Manchester. And we're a volunteer team, a charity, and we do sort of generic mountain rescue, but also swift water rescue, vulnerable missing person search, and that kind of thing.
Okay, excellent. What's the terrain like? What type of? I mean, it's mountain rescue. I mean, answer some of it, but give me an idea of like what are the mountains like?
So it's not massive. It doesn't go above about 1,500 feet, but it's kind of rolling moorland and rural sort of farmland. But it's quite quiet. It's fairly remote in places. It's not covered in tourists like the Lake District is. So yes, a typical English rural upland area.
Okay, excellent. What's a classic call out? What's the kind of one that when the pager goes off, that's what it's going to be?
Typical for us, like most British mountain rescue teams, it'll be some kind of lower leg injury. So what we'll call a spot pickup, where we'll generally know the casualty's location. That's been helped by technology with the smartphones recently. And we will navigate there, do some sort of simple first aid and splinting of a limb. And then it's about extracting that casualty, normally carrying them on our stretcher back to the roadhead and a handover to the ambulance service.
Excellent. Is that Sarlock you're using for?
Yes, we have used Sarlock.
Excellent. We might talk about that. It might come up one of the pieces. Okay, next up, let's bring Casey in. Casey's been on the live stream before. Hey, Casey, how are you?
Good afternoon, Robin. I'm good. How are you doing?
Excellent. I'm great. Casey is joining us from Lincoln County in Maine, United States. Casey, tell us a little bit about Lincoln County Emergency Management Agency.
Well, in Maine, there's 16 counties. So Lincoln County is obviously one of those counties. And basically, we help to try to prepare the residents and public safety agencies. And, for emergencies, we also help with response and organizing. So, we're basically involved in a lot of different things in our county, just kind of as like an umbrella there, just watching over things and, trying to help as much as we can and support the towns in our county.
We've talked before on this live stream, and I know sort of weather events are your primary piece. Or is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's still true. Definitely over the last few years, since 2017, we seem to have an annual windstorm around October or so. And they usually cause a lot of damage with trees down and knocking down power lines. So D4H has played a huge role in helping us organize that incident management platform.
Excellent. Great to have you on. Neil Brewer. Neil is joining us from British Columbia. Hey, Neil.
Hi there, Robin. I've got a really bad echo on my end.
Neil Brewer. I can hear it too. Have you got YouTube open in the background? Hey, Neil.
Yeah. Hi there, Robin. I've got a.
That's what it is. If you close YouTube, we'll come back to you, Neil, in a second. But I think you're playing the live stream a couple of seconds later. We'll bring in Andrew and then we'll come back to Neil. Andrew, excellent to have you on. Also in British Columbia, South Fraser. Where is South Fraser?
If you think of the city of Vancouver, that for the most part, we are the south suburbs. So we cover Richmond, Delta, Surrey, and White Rock. Approximately 900,000 people, give or take a little bit, in our area from the census. So it's a relatively small geographic area, say, compared to Neil, who is about an hour and a half drive, give or take a little bit from me. So we are relatively close, our teams in the southwest of BC. But we've got a predominantly urban and near urban with a lot of very large parks available in our service area.
Okay, excellent. And what's the classic call out for you? I mean, in an urban area, what type of incident do you deal with?
For the most part, we see a lot of seniors who are struggling with dementia, that they've lost their way, that they think they're in a different place, a different time, and they become completely disoriented. So that is a very, very common profile for us to see, is a senior with dementia or a child with special needs who, for various reasons, have lost their way in this large area.
So quite an urban response area. We've got everything here. And we'll go back to Neil. Neil, where's Neil? Here we go. Neil, excellent. You're back. Perfect.
I'm back. Yes,
right.
With a vengeance.
Well, Andrew has stolen your thunder with the Canadian intro. Give us a difference with Kent Harrison. How does it differ to what Andrew's doing in South Fraser?
Quite dramatically different, actually. Even though we're only, as Andrew said, about an hour and a half travel time, we're in the eastern end of the Fraser Valley, so about 150 kilometers east of Vancouver. We look after 2,500 square kilometers of a mixture of a very large freshwater lake, Harrison Lake, which is about 250 square kilometers, and just a myriad of logging roads, hiking trails, some alpine, although the alpine, with some exceptions, is hard to access, but quite a variable range of scenarios, from lost hikers to vehicles over embankments to boating accidents, drownings, you name it.
And is the highway between the two of you where there was recently all the flooding?
Yes. So what do they call it? What was the name? The rivers, the
Nooksack in northern Washington.
What was the name on the? Anyway, never mind. We had just horrendous floods. Basically in the Abbotsford area, which is exactly midway between where I am and where Andrew is, and that cut off it literally cut Vancouver off between the flooding and the landslides. It was quite something.
Excellent. Well, I'm hoping to get Canada Task Force 1 on here at some point, and they can talk us through what the response was like to that. I'm sure you guys are out as well, but I'm hoping to get those guys to talk about it. Okay, finally, we've got the man of the moment, who Mario. Mario, this is where are we? Here we go. Mario, hiya. This is our Mario's first live stream with us. Mario is the Chief Technology Officer, CTO at D4H, and he is the right guy here to answer your questions about D4H, what features are coming, what we're doing, how we're building it, when it's coming. That's Mario's role. So you've got him live. So there's a whole audience built here watching. We've got some great viewership. I will remind now. I will remind everybody that the comments on whatever platform you're watching on, all you need to do is write a comment against this video in the chat, And it's going to come up live here in front of us. So we're able to see your commentary, answer questions, all that kind of stuff. So what we'll do next, let's open up the first. I think we're going to Andrew's suggestions first. The plan today is we're going to talk through these suggestions sort of as a bit of a group and see what's useful. So Andrew, maybe you'd introduce this into equivalent qualification tracking. Go for it.
Perfect. Thanks, Robin. So one of the aspects that we see is that we'll require everybody to have a first aid requirement. And that first aid requirement can be anything from a 14-hour basic first aid course to critical care paramedic and beyond. So a wide range of aspects. Our operating guidelines require everyone to have first aid. But what first aid means can mean many, many, many different things. So having that hierarchy of saying, does somebody have first aid? Listing it as one generic qualification. If you've got this, well, you've also got this. So the superior qualifications, if you want to call that, having it recognize that for the purposes of are you qualified or not in that group.
So what I'm hearing there is that a qualification could be, you'd have like a parent qualification of some type, which is any, or maybe it's a group called first aiders. And to be compliant in that group, the expectation is any of these 3 qualifications or 4 qualifications, whatever it might be. Does that
is correct?
Meet that? Okay.
But my understanding is that could be also multiple level, right? That's why you actually, Andrew, you mentioned the hierarchy. So you can essentially have different levels of qualifications. And to be honest, when I read about these, I immediately thought about hierarchies. So
I think you're right. So to have this qualification, you must have any of these first aid qualifications and this other one.
Correct. That going through that, for example, another area, Swiftwater, that we have 3 levels of Swiftwater technician. And so 1, 2, 3. And if somebody's got 3, that they've got the skills to function as a 2 and a 1 accordingly. And so if I'm looking at my list, I've got a task that requires X skill that if I need 1, that I don't want to go through and exclude all the 2s and 3s who can function as a 1 simply because they're not in that listing. So having that ability to, you're right, have the hierarchy of qualifications and then select the one I want above or, below or above what I need there.
Makes sense.
Absolutely.
Talk about the groups one, Andrew.
Fairly similar aspect that I've got, say, boat. I want to select everybody who's got boat to use the communications module to send a message to everyone who may have, say, small vessel operator proficiency, which is a marine qualification course here. Just having that listing of everyone with this qualification be able to message and send updates and whatnot based off of what qualifications people have.
Makes sense. Okay.
So we're talking like more of a group, dynamic group, which is populated with everyone with a certain qualification, essentially. So you don't have to maintain. You only have to maintain what qualification is assigned to certain members.
Yes.
And
so then if I
So
yes, if I select, say I want all my boat operators, everybody with, say, small vessel operator proficiency would be selected, which eliminates that issue sometimes is when we'll qualify somebody and we forget to update the group, or likewise that some qualifications expire. And if somebody's got that expired qualification, I don't want to be paging them out for something where they're no longer qualified to do. So having it remove them from that group when they're no longer qualified for that task would save a lot of administrative back-end work.
Yeah.
So dynamic groups are very interesting because it could be built off a couple of criteria. I think it's definitely an interest. And I wonder, does the hierarchy piece you're talking about, I always try and bring myself back to thinking qualifications are the course. Qualification is the certificate. And we get very confusing if we start to you have a qualification if you've any of these qualifications, but I think that's more a group membership. If you have any of these qualifications, the qualification is the actual piece of paper. And we need to blend the groups and qualifications tighter.
And that could be a way to look at it, is that you're in the first aid group, which our expectation would be absolutely everybody has that. If you have this qualification or
any
that
of these,
or yes, any one to many.
And it's a dynamic group based on the qualifications being the pieces of paper. Okay, great. Excellent. Andrew, they're great. There's questions come in while we're doing that. can a grade or mark be associated to a qualification?
That's a great thought there, that if you've got like passing scores or transcripts or something like that, and just listing what do people have, that there might be some privacy issues that I can see that you might want to mark that as a private, or even a further restricted access level, potentially owner or editor there. But
yeah, so being able to, because we get that about equipment inspections as well, what can we mark a pass level, like a level or a number on it? We've just got a free text comment there, and maybe that's all that this needs to be, is a free text comment of what the marker grade was. Or I wonder, does it need to be a drop down of options? But yeah, that's an interesting one. Thank you very much, Kyle. We'll add that to the list here as well. Casey, I can't remember. Do you use personnel training as well? I know your incident management is the big one.
Yes, we do.
Is that relevant to you and what you do in emergency management as well? Having dynamic
I
groups
think
like that?
I think it would certainly help. We have 3 different teams that we manage with this, so certain qualifications, I think it probably would help to reach those directly by the qualification.
Great. Okay. Oh, Andrew, you've more. I didn't realize there's multiple slides here. Excellent.
I absolutely do have a few more here.
That's Andrew for you.
Oh, yeah. I think there's only 2 slides though. But
no,
the next one there is sort of that one-stop export, is that we'll use qualifications and reports for certain funding formulas, etc. And right now we have to export for each qualification at our organizational account level for the British Columbia Search and Rescue Association, which is all 79 groups in the province, that we have to export one by one by one. Just being able to click one button, export, generate a list of group, individual, qualification, expiry date, just to eliminate that need to build, export for each qualification we've got.
Okay. So Mario, you've got a reporting project open, I think. There's a this is something going on.
We're going to work on probably the second half of 2022. So we're going to introduce a completely new way actually to generate reports, and it should be faster, it should be more customizable, and it should be just even visually more appealing, let's say. So it's a complete rework. So it's going to take a while. We hope to complete it before the end of 2022. But since it's a quite big project, it can actually slip into 2023. But we know that this is actually one of the most requested features from the customers. And that's actually a big priority for us.
Great. I think what's missing there is there's a couple of things at the organization level that I know that we have exports at the team level, but not at the organization level. So I can see that that piece there for sure. Sign in and out kiosk. Okay. I'm glad you got the fob or barcode. Yeah. Okay.
So kind of the thought is members come in to training, and we've got the attendance record. They sign up. Are they going to attend? Are they giving regrets, or have they been unconfirmed? That when the event happens, that somebody needs to currently go through and manually check from the paper sheet, or however you track it, that yes, they were there, no, they weren't there, and update their hours. The aspect I actually got from my union is they actually went through and produced a little RFID card where you go to one of their offices, you tap in to sign in that yes, you're attending the meeting, and then you tap out to go through and say that you're no longer there. Either a barcode like we use with the equipment app, or an RFID, NFC, you name it, something like that. But a way to attract, here's who intended to attend the training, and here's who actually attended, and a logging of their hours.
We've talked about something like that here too. That would be really helpful. There is a lot of time that it takes to enter that data in after a meeting or an exercise. And we mentioned barcode, but the other thing is sometime on those ID cards the barcode might wear off, so the RFID might be a better option.
Okay.
Or potentially even going through, as we're seeing now on boarding passes, that stick that into wallet on Apple or your Google Pay equivalent, or your Google equivalent there, and just a barcode that comes up.
So talk a little bit about like what I've seen in over time on this, and Mario, feel free to jump in as well of stuff we've looked at. But a couple of years ago, even the idea of a kiosk was great because you could have a kiosk. Kiosks take maintenance, and you've got to run this thing, and it's got to be running, and it only is in a physical location. And so we started to think more about, like, if everyone's carrying a smartphone, is everyone just comfortable to do it on their smartphone? So then does it come down to, do we need physical proof that the person was present? So is it just that they have in the app, I'm here now, I'm gone now? People talk about passing an iPad or a tablet around and everyone doing it on that, that's signed in by someone. But again, that's going to try to maintain central hardware. One of the ideas was you just the people, there might be something like a QR code shown on a screen of an administrator's phone or someone with permission, that everyone would just scan the barcode from the app and it would tag them in and tag them out. There's which you could print as well, but it would be a QR code effectively for the activity that you'd scan with the camera of your phone to mark in and out, or they could mark you in and out manually. But there's a new version of the personnel training app launching hopefully tomorrow if it gets through Apple review process, and that has RFID reading in it like the equipment app. So we are going to start supporting member RFID tags. We've talked a little bit on the live stream about we're going to issue some stickers out that'll go on helmets or ID cards or whatever, which is an RFID chip in it. And so hopefully we can start to go into something like that. So it may be somebody with permission to edit the activity can scan the codes as they come in. But I don't know what you think, but my thinking was to stay away from central kiosk machinery that has to be maintained, powered on, updated. That adds an overhead versus everyone just using a personal device. I don't know what you think of that.
That workflow could definitely work. I see it, Robin, is that what we're looking for is people will sometimes go through and sign up for something without sort of that physical proof or that time of event basis that yet they were actually there. So perhaps when an event starts, that the sign up process gets locked out at that point, and then it becomes, have you actually signed in to the event, and that's what actually sets the final attendance record for that event. But certainly it's just a matter of making sure that people who sign up actually do attend, because unfortunately we do have members who don't sometimes show up.
Yeah, because we've also talked about we were talking at one point about adding another phase to attendance. So you've got requested, confirm, attending or absent, but that there's an approved phase on that as well, of something like physically was there as another step or something like that, like confirm what it was as a status. So okay, that's really interesting. John, is that useful from what you see as well? Is there overlap there in functionality?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've been talking about how we record people's attendance. We use D4H, but trying to streamline that process and make it accurate is really important, especially in a voluntary organization where people aren't compelled to attend all the time. It can be quite varied. So tracking that in an accurate way, but that doesn't put a big admin burden on the people working behind the scenes is really, really important. So yeah, definitely like the idea of that.
Okay, excellent. Casey, we're on to yours. Sort data on the PDF exports.
So yeah, on the incident management platform, we have a status board that we track the closed roads, and we sort it by we can sort it in many different ways. We can sort it by the town. We can sort it by, roads closed. But we like to export that into a PDF, and then we can share it with the public so they can be aware of what's going on. So one of the complaints we have or questions we get is, it's not in any order when we export it. So it's hard for people to find their area that they live in. Like if we could sort that by town on that PDF, that would be helpful. Because we can sort it, as we're using it, but once we export it, it's not sorted anymore. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd almost consider that a bug actually, but I understand it. Like since it's a completely different functionality, like exporting, that part sorting is not actually yet implemented. But as I said, it's very high priority, I think, and it's important that when you export the status board, sorting and grouping is always maintained and preserved actually from the view you are exporting from. So yeah, that's definitely something that we're gonna add pretty soon, I guess.
So yeah, it's maintained across. When you do the print, you capture the filter and sort and and everything else.
Yeah, exactly.
I love this one, Casey. Library of templates for everyone to share and use.
Yeah, so I've made a couple of templates here for different situations that and this is with the incident management platform again, that we've had to respond to. And, they may be helpful to other people. And if I had a way I could share those templates, kind of explain the description of the template and what we use it for. And then, there was a cloud somewhere that everybody could share their templates, and it would probably save a lot of time and, different ideas from other people. So it just makes the program that much more useful.
Yeah, actually that's good to hear, because from a customer, because we've talked about this internally for a while now. It's probably a few years that we've always dreamed of having like a marketplace, sort of like a marketplace for templates. So yeah, it's good to hear that also our customers would love this idea. And one problem that I see, though, with sharing templates is relationships, because usually with templates, you can build relationships with other status boards, with other templates, essentially. So that could become a problem if you import a template and the relationship on the other side is missing, essentially. So we could fix that, as for example, like bundling different templates together. That could be like I don't know, an hazmat bundle, for example, or a search and rescue bundle, where you can have multiple templates, for example.
I love the idea of a marketplace. I love being able to go in and like go through categories of templates and say, "Oh, I like that one." Maybe it comes as a pack with the relationships. And I know, however we communicate what it installs into your. But it's a great idea, like a marketplace or app store for it. I always wondered as well, is there an opportunity there to allow even people to put a price on some of those templates and say, whether they bill offline or they're restricted in some way, but they're private, and that there are lots of consultants out there who'd like to build whole sets of templates and say, I'll issue you to them with something. There's actually, this is worth putting up. I'm not sure how. I'll try and put it in the comments here, but our knowledge base does have a whole set of sample templates people can download. So the link, let me see if we can put this up here. So that's the link. It's actually, if you click into the chat comments, you'll be able to click straight on the link. I've put it in both, but there is an entire archive there of sample templates that we've worked through with people that you can copy and paste them in.
I have shared templates back and forth with Dale at Waldo County EMA.
Another guy we need on this live stream. We should have had him on today.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Casey. Neil.
Right.
Statistics summary box.
So can you share my screen?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Careful what you share now, Neil. We're live.
Yeah.
Can't take it back.
Here we go.
If you do, there should be an option to screen share, and I should see it when you do it. So.
Okay, just let me go back into this. I'm not seeing it.
At the bottom, there's like a little up arrow. It says screen share. Something like that. Don't worry too much. I mean,
yeah, okay.
Tell us about it.
So in the BC-SARA org account, we have a statistics summary box that gives you, without going into custom reports, it gives you all the pertinent information, volunteer hours, exercises, incidents, events, the number of exercises, incidents, and events. And one thing that's probably peculiar to BC-SARA is that when we submit expense claims, sorry, John, we submit them by operational period. Yeah. So you've got it set up on the org account that it only counts incidents of the same number. So it's not duplicating all these
activity tracking numbers. So you put in, is that a police file number you use? I can't remember.
It's an EMBC task number. It's the provincial government's task number, which we bill against.
And to explain to people watching, because not everyone using that parent organization concept, you've got, is it 85 teams?
79.
79 teams. All have their individual D4H accounts, and they all feed data up into the British Columbia Search and Rescue parent account. And that's the organization view Neil's describing.
So what I'm looking for is the exact same statistical summary box available on the team account homepage.
Okay. So you just want it's like persons, I can't remember, it's total hours, total incidents for the year, for the reporting period. Right. Yes. Oh, that sounds like an easy one and a quick win.
Okay. Well, I asked you for this 6 months ago. Where the hell is it, Robin?
That's for Mario to answer, not me. My job is to say yes to everything, Neil.
My job is to say, no, we'll do it later. We have some big release coming in the next weeks. Let's say in the next month. There's going to be a big release. That's what we are working on and what we've been working on in the past few months. So we've been very busy with this big release. Should include a lot of improvements internally and also a lot of speed improvements in the platform. And after that, we will have a lot more time to dedicate on feature requests from customers, essentially. And we will do that before tackling the reporting piece.
Brilliant. Okay. Neil, what's radio tracking? What are you thinking?
So we use, and this is team specific. So quite a few of the SAR groups in British Columbia do live tracking of VHF radio. So our assets, our boats, our trucks, our UTVs, and our members, and this isn't across the board. Certainly the case on our team, where every member has a portable radio that's capable of sending out a GPS signal when it's pulled.
What's that protocol or technology called again? I can't remember the name. APR, AP something, APR.
APRS is
APRS. Okay.
Yeah,
that's not what you're doing. No,
it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of here I go again, not a lot, some of the SAR groups in British Columbia are using different software. Mike Coyle, who I know you're familiar with Coquitlam SAR, has written code for his GIS program that tracks the Kenwood and ICOM radios. And I believe somebody in Campbell River has written code to accomplish the same thing on SAR Topo. So they can track their radios on SAR Topo.
Yeah.
So I was hoping that because D4H Incident Command gives us the mapping and the incident management software, that if we could somehow see that radio tracking feature on D4H Incident Command, we would have a one-stop shop, which gives us everything that we need. The only downside to D4H Incident Command, as you probably hear on a daily basis, is that it only works online. And that's the only drawback for us.
You haven't got the Starlink installed yet?
No, we have satellite, as you well know, but it's ridiculously expensive. Yeah, at $8.50 Canadian a megabyte.
Okay.
That's a megabyte.
Starlink isn't quite mobile yet. That I've got it at my parents' place and love it there. But I think I can move it about 3 kilometers in a radius. That Neil's service area is 1,500 square kilometers, so a little bit more than 3 kilometer radius right now.
I think they're bringing out that's only a software limitation, I think, on it, right? Because they're trying to stop people moving them. I think they're bringing out an addition for on heavy haulage trucks for tracking and internet. Well, that's what I heard. Mario, you can talk all about live GPS tracking in incident management.
Oh yeah. We've been talking about this for a while now. So the main option that we are discussing is actually having either a dedicated app, mobile app, just dedicated to tracking people on the map, people and resources on the map, or just integrate the tracking inside incident management, for example. We've been requesting we've been having a lot of requests actually from customers about this, and we can consider implementing it as well at the end of 2022, probably.
So that would be the ability to ingest live location data from some sort of GPS tracker, whether it's radios or app or other, and show those assets in real time moving in incident management on the screen.
Well, at the beginning, it will be mainly from mobile phones, essentially. And then as we evolve the solution, we will consider also adding other sources.
Excellent. John, in the UK, are you guys, I know a lot of mountain rescue teams do track real-time position. Do you do that?
Yes, we do. We use the MR map software for viewing that in our team. We don't really use the incident management side of D4H, but yeah, that's a super useful tool and a big thing for safety. So it's really important.
MR map is it's an offline installable tool, right? That you can run it. You run in the command truck.
Yeah, you can just run it on any PC basically, and it'll just show you an OS map and a location, and you can do a small amount of search planning on it as well. And
you're picking up the position of all the radios from an antenna on the truck. Is that right?
Yeah, it's I think it's all sort of networked, so from multiple antennas across the country, and look at other teams as well.
Okay, great. The related question in here: are we considering integration with InReach, Garmin InReach, or Spot devices?
Yeah, we will be considering any source really after we release our pilot, let's say, feature for tracking.
We've talked to InReach a couple of times, and that's very easy and possible to do. We haven't spoken to Spot. Okay, great. Casey, you were saying you use that same protocol as well in terms of radios, APRS.
Yes, we do. We use APRS.
Okay. Is that who's using that? What type of responder, or is that just the EMA?
We'd like to start having our search and rescue team use it. Our amateur radio team members use it now, but they can be, we can utilize our amateur radio team members at our search and rescue events, and then they can provide that equipment to search and rescue team members and help us monitor that.
Okay, great. Excellent. All right. So, John, we're on to you here.
Yeah, so I've had the task recently of basically going through every bit of rope rescue gear. So, ropes, carabiners, harnesses, working out what we have and logging it, tagging it, and helping with PPE checking, which meant I spent quite a lot of time in D4H, which has been great, and it's been super useful. But one stumbling block I had was essentially if you've got 100 items in a bag, and that bag is now full, you need to put it in a different bag, and you need to log that in D4H. So to move all those items from one bag to another bag, there wasn't a way of doing it in bulk. I was having to go into each item and edit it. There was a workaround where I was just going into the bag itself and editing its properties so it becomes the new bag. But in terms of tracking that bag, it's not ideal. Now, rucksack's not too much of an issue, but there are other areas where that component is maybe a vehicle, where you don't really want to be editing a vehicle's details like that.
And are you going into locations and move items?
Yes.
And using there's a bulk mover there, but
okay, it's not something I've seen.
Okay, so that there's not a select all contents if you have 100 items, but you can drag and drop the items all across and say I want to move these items to a new location.
Okay, that's really useful.
That may have saved you a few minutes.
Might have done. But
it's not it could be built better and it could be easier to use. So Mario, I don't know how much you know on the specifics of the equipment management, but I believe there's a project there as well to add select boxes. Effectively, when you're looking at any list of equipment, that you can show select boxes, click any items, and sort of bulk do something. So that would cover off. There's another piece in here saying ability to scan a piece of equipment in the app and add it to an instant or exercise. That is coming. That's not very far away at all. It's in our next few items on the equipment app. That used to be there actually, and we took it out to simplify the app at one point. So you will be able to do that in the future. John, great. So you've come across lots of probably little bits that you thought this would be much better. This is frustrating. Talk about the more powerful base location tool.
So that was just a really interesting little sort of widget I found in D4H that shows essentially I think you call it the center of gravity of all your incidents, and there's a few filters in there to customize it a bit. For our team, it's an interesting tool, but not one that we can really use because number one, we have 3 base locations to cover our fairly large, at least for a UK mountain rescue team, a fairly large area. So a single location isn't really ideal. And secondly, because we're volunteers, we're not full-time, we're not sat at the base waiting to go on a call out. We are generally responding from home. So where you would locate the base needs to be a sort of transit point between a common call out location and sort of clusters of where people live. So it's quite a complex problem, which ultimately, a bit of processing power will be very useful to apply. So
it's a real GIS, Geographic Information Systems problem, routing all the roads.
Yeah. So we've considered approaching universities with departments that look at this, but there's a lot of data already in D4H, which we maybe could extract and hand it over to them. But it would be a very useful tool, but I imagine a complex one perhaps for you guys to build.
It's the kind of thing you'd throw to the Esri, if you know Esri mapping. It's the kind of one you'd throw to their API and say, calculate this. It would drive all the traffic times at a time of day to a point and work out the ideal location by road.
There are certainly other partners, D4H out there that can do this job already very well. So we will probably be looking at integrating those solutions into D4H better. We already integrate. We have a prototype of integration with Esri, and we will be releasing a more complete solution in the next few months. at least for incident management.
Okay. No, that does sound really interesting, and I think that's maybe quite commercial as well. I'd hope for you guys. So yeah, I'll look forward to maybe learning more about that.
Nested folders in documents is, I've heard this again and again and again and again.
Yeah, to me, being not a sort of programming background, I'd assume that it's an easy win for you guys. It's you know, that's a fairly common feature in file storage, and the reason we want it is that, you know, we have a diverse group of people who are volunteer for us, and we have a limited amount of time for the management of all of this. So, you know, there's Google Docs, there's OneDrive, there's all sorts of things out there that we could and do use. But the more we can make D4H a one-stop shop for our volunteers to go to, the answer is always going to be just look in D4H, it's there for you. It's going to keep them going back to it. It's going to keep them being familiar with the platform, and it's going to simplify any admin background where we don't have to administrate multiple different user accounts and so on and so forth. And I think I'd assume that it's an easy win for you guys.
So not necessarily. It really depends on the underlying implementation of that particular feature, which actually I'm not that familiar with. But definitely I hear you, John. It's definitely something. Our implementation of documents at the moment is quite simplistic, and there is a lot that we can improve there. Again, after this big release, which is coming next month.
One of the other pieces we're doing is we're moving in the product you're using, John. We're using all the document storage over to what's called object-based storage in the cloud, so Amazon S3, and that is a large piece for us in terms of being able to increase document storage allowances. That's going to all be increased for everybody. Better, quicker download and upload off. I mean, everything's going to be better about it. There's no doubt in that, and that will allow us to do more with the document area. Documents actually came out of before we had documents, we had the ability to attach files to any entity in there. So like attach files to an incident, attach files to anything. And how the documents actually works is when you create a folder, you're just creating another item like an incident effectively in the database, and we're attaching the items in the folder are attached to the folder. And so that's what makes converting it to nested quite difficult in the way you built it. That move to the cloud, native cloud provider of document storage will be a rewrite of it. And that's at the point I think would be a great fit for it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay, we've got some more, but I think we're actually running out of time here. And I think we need to start thinking about wrapping up. It has gone by incredibly quickly. There is what I might do. I've pinned some messages from people who are watching the live stream, so I thought we'd get to them rather than there's this whole page. Just to show you this, a big thanks to we'll call her the show producer Amy Brennan, who is in touch. I know with all of you to arrange it to come on, has put together some great slides here. So there's loads of stuff in here that came in as questions. But I think what we'll do instead, we'll actually just answer the questions that came in. Let's see if we can bring us all up here somehow. Okay, excellent. What we'll do is we'll answer the questions that came in on the live stream, and then we'll wrap this up. So, when will the app have tagging functionality? Debbie, I'm trying to interpret what. This is incident management, Mario. This is tagging a log post in incident management.
Tagging a log post. Well,
yes, that's what I assume it is. So when
will the app? Yes, tagging. Oh, yeah. That's actually, that's one of the core functionalities of incident management that is missing in the app at the moment, and it's very high in our priority list. It's very high in our backlog, so we will get that pretty soon. It's probably one of the highest in the mobile app at the moment, together with mapping.
Multi-layer access control. Not everybody above the standard member needs to see. Okay, yeah. So our this I'm guessing is a personnel training question. I can answer it. Access levels, they get progressively more and more. Whereas if you use incident management, they're fully granular. You can choose exactly what people can do. I think we would have an ambition to bring granular control like that over to personnel and training. I don't think there's an open project on it at the moment, but it's certainly on the roadmap of things we'd like to do. Guys, feel to chime in if any of these resonate with you and you want to kind of give them a thumbs up as well. Being able to
just
move,
on that, if I can, Robin,
go for it.
Equipment, that we give everyone equipment basic. And so just having that checkbox, because everyone, if something's broken, we want them to use the equipment app and tag it that this needs repair. So being able to just give that to everyone by default would save a few clicks.
Yeah, absolutely. Be able to make a profile effectively and apply it to people. Move equipment between teams in the same organization. Okay, this is personnel training, equipment management. You can already move equipment between teams in the same organization if the equipment. We have to enable it for you, but what it does then is it blocks teams creating their own categories and kinds. So the categories and kinds have to be created by the organization, and we have to block teams creating their own because you can only move items around that are using a shared sort of descriptor set. And so it is possible. You cannot move people yet, but that's a long-term goal for us, is the ability to have not only move people, but have a person in multiple teams at the same time. And to do that, we have to do quite a lot of movement around moving everything to ownership by an organization rather than by the team. There's quite a lot in it, but it's certainly on the radar. And I think this will be the last one of the night. Qualifications minimum requirement. How do I mark someone as qualified if they have a higher level of training? Plus the required skill set, not always a specific piece of paper. Yeah, okay. So I think this is the same as our early piece. It came in much earlier. I just flagged it to that we hadn't shown it. I'm reading other comments coming in here. So I think we've covered that off. We're getting a couple of comments coming in. That's right. We got that one right. Superb. Thank you. Russell here asking, will you set up a paging system in D4H to page out a team with the incident details they can confirm attendance on, etc.? What are the key bits of a paging system? I mean, we don't have one. We've always used integrations with others. What's the basic set? I mean, it is people saying I'm coming, and then there's a challenge there of where they are, and how far away they are, what their ETA is. There's loads of solutions out there that do this stuff. What's do you guys use text messaging, pagers, phone calls? How does, between just who we've got on, what do you use?
Combinations. So we'll initially send people a text that they can just respond either yes, no, last resort. If they don't respond to that, then 10 minutes later we phone them with an automated phone call, and then another 10 minutes later they get another automated phone call, and then we just assume they're not coming. So we really try and get people up. A lot of our calls come at, interesting hours of the night. So we've told our members to set the number that sets the call outs to be on your emergency bypass and the ring at all hours on your phone. And then if they don't want the calls, mark themselves unavailable.
What are you using to initiate those calls?
So it's Twilio in the background. We're using a product called VRSAR, which has been pulls data from D4H Live via the API.
Volunteer rescue, right? Is that how I know?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, excellent. Yes. Yeah. Perfect. Okay, great. Very good. And so volunteer rescue have a integration with D4H. It'll pull the personnel details down in, and then you've got the phone number and everything's in sync, and it'll do all that paging. That's a good option.
It doesn't pull the groups. Yes, so we just page by group in D4H. And it just pulls the availability. So if somebody uses the equipment app, or not, personnel app, I should say, so if they're unavailable, they don't get a call.
Yeah, perfect. And I know there's a comment in here saying Connect Rocket as well. There's that integration too. Those guys are in Vancouver as well, both Canadian solutions. And that does the same. I believe that does the exact same thing. It'll sync through. John, what do you do to page people out?
We used to use pages until the paging service was withdrawn. And we now use text messaging, which is via the SAR call system, which is independent of D4H. So yeah, the pager message goes out to everyone unless they've been manually marked off call.
Your police, local SARPOL, and they can.
Yeah, so it's also
they're initiating that.
It can be initiated by either the team itself or by one of our calling agencies. So yeah, police, ambulance, fire, or by a regional sort of high level organization. So yeah, it's a log function as well. So information goes into the log. You can then use that as a dispatch system to contact people who are in different groups. The page or the text message goes out. People will text back in with a certain standardized format, and that will go into the log as a record and shared amongst anyone who has access to that log, which is really useful for situational awareness, and it gives times and so on, but it's manually inputted. So it's useful, but it doesn't link in with D4H. It's kind of a rival, I guess, in some senses. But we've got some nice little displays in our vehicle bases which show that response board for each incident. So you can arrive at a base, see where everyone's going, how long they think they're going to take to get there, and work out if you can drive off in a vehicle and leave half the teammates just about to arrive or not. And hopefully avoid some arguments that way. But that works really well.
And do you initially text or do you initially just team leadership get notified if somebody else alerts you, or is there like
it can be set either way? So the initial call from, say, the ambulance service can go to everyone in the team, which gives us all a heads up that something's happening, and then the team leadership will take over sort of responsibility of communicating, or it can go direct to the team leadership. It can all be sort of structured in different ways depending on how you want it and what your relationship is with the
and how does, my second question was, how does the text only work? Does it wake people during the night? Okay.
We were not in favor of moving to it, but we were forced to because there was no suitable pager service left in the UK. It's been better than we expected, but it's not perfect, and there's all sorts of occasional issues with the do not disturb functions and things like that, and occasional changes to the software and people's mobile phones. Essentially, that can be the issue, or with them not necessarily being as switched on with using that technology as they'd like to be or need to be. But generally it works pretty well, but we do prefer the old school pages, to be honest.
Fair enough. Well, listen, I've got to say thank you to all of you for joining. Thanks all. Casey's had to drop off a little early. Andrew, thank you. Neil, thank you. John, thank you. And Mario, thank you for joining as well today. This was great. We've had a superb viewership all the way through, and there'll be thousands more viewing it on the post record. I'd like to say thanks again to all of you, and if you're watching here, hit the subscribe button, go onto the podcast, subscribe to that as well. And if you'd like to be on the next episode of the live stream, drop D4H an email, or Amy an email if you're chatting to Amy already, and just say I'd like to be on the next episode, and we'll get you on. Guys, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, talk to you all soon.